ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. We will continue on our journey of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. We will start from verse number 11 today. This chapter is profoundly deep, and therefore we are spending little more time on this particular chapter. Now, verse number 11. मेरे परम भाव को न जानने वाले मूढ़ लोग मनुष्य का शरीर धारण करने वाले मुझ संपूर्ण भूतों के महान ईश्वर को तुच्छ समझते हैं, अर्थात अपनी योग माया से संसार के उद्धार के लिए मनुष्य रूप में विचरित होते हुए मुझ परमेश्वर को साधारण मनुष्य मानते हैं. Now, this is a very profound observation. You see, you talk to anybody, when there is a debate on spiritual issues, then people who believe in God, they present their arguments. And those who are opposed to that, those who do not believe, they say, if there's a God, why doesn't he come on the earth and tell us that I am the one? This is a debate which has happened in many, many forums. That let the God come if he is in existence, if he actually runs this world, if he is powerful, why doesn't he come and tell us that I am here? Now, this is what Lord Krishna has said. You know, the people challenge those who are believers, and then they present this kind of thing. So he says that when I come on the earth, when I present myself on this earth in presence of everybody, then they think that I'm like an ordinary human being. I am walking like anybody else. I am breathing like anybody else. I feel hungry like anybody else. I feel sleepy like anybody else. So then people feel that how can he be God? He's not, he's like me. It's not easy for us to accept that. If you recall the time of Mahabharata, Lord Krishna was not accepted as incarnation of God by most of the people. There were only very few people who could accept that. That was like Bhishma Pitamaya, Dronacharya, Vidur, maybe some more, of course, Vedvyas. But there were people who could be counted on fingertips who accepted him as incarnation of God. Despite the fact that the way he killed Kans, the way he, performed certain miracles in his childhood, they were all forgotten. People thought that he's like an ordinary person. Duryodhana all the time debated with him. He even insulted him on a few occasions. Similarly, there were other kings who insulted him, who thought ये तो ग्वाला है, ये सारथी है. You know, that kind of remarks have always been made against him. Because when you are living in this world as an ordinary human being, people find it extremely difficult to accept that superiority. Even otherwise, we know we don't believe that this guy is superior to me. I believe that I'm equal to anybody else. Nobody can be better than me. Or even if they're better, they maybe they're equal. So that kind of feeling, firstly, non-acceptance of superiority. Secondly, acceptance of an ordinary looking human being as a god is extremely difficult. That's why it is easier to accept him as God after thousands of years, or maybe after hundreds of years, when he's no more there. You don't see him, you don't see him walking, you don't see him breathing, you don't see him sleeping. But when you see him doing all these ordinary things, then it is not easy to accept. And that is what Lord Krishna is saying here. that even if when I appear on this earth as an ordinary human being, people who do not have profound knowledge, he has used the word here, mood, manus, they do not accept him as such. They treat him as an ordinary person. And this is a reality. Even Lord Rama, even if you take in Christianity, for example, Jesus Christ, he was hanged. They thought that he was not even a good person. That's what Jews thought. So you see, this is the treatment which is meted out even to the Almighty when He appears on this earth. Because for us as normal mortals, it is not easy to accept, firstly, that someone is superior to me. Secondly, to accept Him as Almighty looks, our intellect doesn't accept that. कि ये कहाँ से आ गया? Who is this guy who claims to be the Paramatma or the God or the Supreme or the Almighty? So that is not easy to digest for any one of us. And that is why he's saying that only those people who have developed that deep wisdom, only those accept him that way, not the ordinary people. So this is a very important observation which actually happens in life. Like I would like to give you an example which I gave once on some other context. There was a devotee of the Almighty, very profound devotee, and he was able to meet the Almighty many times. And he was living in a village where a lot of people were aspiring to see the Almighty. So one day the villagers told him that you are so close to the Almighty, why don't you bring him? And we would like to see him. The villagers told him that we would like to see him. So he took that prayer to the Almighty and told the Almighty that this is the prayer of my, fellow villagers. They want to see you in person. They are your devotees. So God said, okay, why not? I'll do that, but let me take 95% of the effort. Let them make 5% of it. So I will appear about 10 kilometers away from your village, and those people will have to walk those 10 kilometers to see me. So this was the agreement between the devotee and the Almighty, and that was agreed to. The devotee was very happy that the villagers will come and they will just travel 10 kilometers and they will be able to see the Almighty. So he came and very proudly and enthusiastically made that announcement. Villagers were very happy. So the date was fixed. So they set on that date on a journey. When they walked about 2 kilometers, there was a whole lot of great food items which were lying there, and they were offering free food, all delights of life. So about 20% of villagers, they forgot about the journey and they got busy with eating, and the remaining 80% moved forward. Then after about another 2 kilometers, they found, all kinds of wealthy things, diamonds and precious stones and gold that was lying around and available for free. So the remaining 80%, most of them forgot about the path to be traversed to achieve the destination and to see the goal and God. They got busy with collecting all that wealth. So about 50% of them stayed back. Some of them moved forward. And then they found after another 2 kilometers, some beautiful women who had appeared. They appeared that they had come from, some different world. very well dressed, beautiful women. So most of the remaining people got engaged there and they forgot their journey to meet the Almighty. Only two people were left who traveled with the devotee and they could meet the God, and then they were blessed to be in union with the Almighty, and they achieved the Param Dham, the ultimate destination. So this is what happens. We are engaged in this world so profoundly, so deeply, that the world does not allow us to make that journey, to understand the Almighty, to reach Him. Here, even if the Almighty comes, we don't accept Him. So, this is what these are not exactly parallels, but these are the statements which are based on the truths experienced by the wise people in the past, that we do not understand the Almighty and His power with our limited, intellect and limited power of our sense organs, and therefore, we treat Him like an ordinary person. So this is the verse number 11. Now, verse number 12. वे व्यर्थ आशा, व्यर्थ कर्म और व्यर्थ ज्ञान वाले विक्षिप्त चित्त अज्ञानी जन राक्षसी, आसुरी और मोहिनी प्रवृत्ति को धारण किए रहते हैं. नाउ दिस इज ए वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग स्टेटमेंट. व्यर्थ आशा, व्यर्थ कर्म एंड व्यर्थ ज्ञान. We need to understand these words properly. Now, vyarth asa. You see, in this world, every one of us faces tremendous difficulties. There are many people who pass through a lot of misery. Some people don't even have enough to eat. They have no proper habitation. They cannot look after their progeny. All these problems they face in this world, still they have that desire to live. Desire to live. Why? You ask them why? Because they have asha. They have this hope in the future that things will improve. Today I don't have a house to live in, but tomorrow I'll manage to do that. Today I'm not able to provide proper food and medicine to my child, but tomorrow I'll do it. If I cannot do it, my child will, enable me to do it. So we build our, hopes. These hopes keep us moving in this world despite the problems and miseries. Now, a large part of these hopes are worth, that is, they are not positive. The reason being that we are looking for happiness because we want to overcome the distress. That is the purpose. We overcome the distress, we achieve happiness. That is always there in the human mind. Now they are looking for that happiness in objects outside or the persons outside. Either they are looking for happiness in their spouse or in their son, in their brother, in their neighbor, or they are looking for happiness in wealth, that is money. They are looking for happiness in prestige, in some position of power. Now that is what creates problem, because ultimate happiness does not come from there. Ultimate happiness comes from here inside. The root of all happiness and miseries actually rest within us. The outside world provides us a context, and we are able to, what you say, you know, transfer our burden on them, that this is the cause of my unhappiness. We blame our spouse, we blame our child, we blame our luck, We blame our neighbor, we blame our boss, we blame our companion. So we blame for misery as well as we look for happiness from the world outside, which is the cause of problems. The real cause of our happiness and distress lies inside. So this is what Lord Krishna is referring to here. Vyarth asa. When you are having hope outside in the world for your own happiness, that is called Vyarth asa. The outside world cannot provide you happiness, whether it is your family members, whether it is your wealth, whether it is your prestige. And I have seen it. I can give you my personal experience. I can narrate many instances. When I was particularly, I can tell you in Hungary, I met people who were very wealthy, who have who had everything in life. They had millions of dollars in their banks. They had huge, large estate. They had reasonably okay family life, and they had traveled around the world. They have gone to all variety of restaurants to eat food. They have, you know, used all the brand names to buy clothes and shoes and jewelry or whatever. But after that, when they arrive at the age of 50, 55, they have a total vacuum in their life. One person who was very wealthy in Hungary came to see me. He says that I have done all this, but I feel vacuum inside me. What should I do? Now, that kind of vacuum arises because we are looking for the happiness outside. That is the problem. That is Vyarth Asa. And Vyarth Karm arises exactly because we want to fulfill those Vyarth Asa. When we do action to fulfill those, you know, expectations, then that is Vyarth Karm. So these are correlated. Vyarthasa and Vyarth Karma are correlated. And the root of this is Vyarth Gyan. When our knowledge is based on the fact that we can acquire happiness from the world outside, if that is the foundation of our knowledge, then these two things happen. And that is the Vyarth knowledge, Vyarth Gyan. So we have to keep that in mind that the happiness and distress, they are not coming from the outside world. The source is right here inside us. And if we can correct that, then we will be able to improve our life. That is why in many of ancient Indian writings, they have said that it is the mind which is the source of all misery and all happiness. And if you can, you know, take your mind in the right direction, then it will make you happy. If you take it in the wrong direction, it will make you unhappy. So this is what the Lord Krishna is referring here. Vyarth asa, vyarth kam, and vyarth gyan. Vyarth gyan is the gyan that we feel that we can find happiness in the world outside. That is the foundation on which our expectations are based. That is Vyarthasa. And then based on that, we do variety of actions, either to acquire wealth or to, make please others so that we can be happy, or to acquire a position of power or to acquire wealth. That is actually leading to no consequences in the world. That is not the direction we should follow. That will not give us the happiness. The happiness will come when we look inside and rectify our own internal instruments. The internal most important instrument is the instrument of mind and intellect. If we can regulate these two instruments, then we can acquire happiness right here at this very moment. So, this is what he is saying here. Because of this, because of this wrong foundation of knowledge, these people behave in Rakshasi pravarti, that is to punish others, Asuri again to punish others, or behaving in a very ignorant way, and Mohini means to remain attached to the world outside. So all these three tendencies, Rakshasi, Asuri, and Mohini, they originate from the wrong foundation of knowledge, and from there arises vyarthasa, and from there we give birth to vyarth karma. So this is what we have to understand from this verse number 12, which is a very very profound verse, and which tells us that we have to abandon this path of vyarth gyan and vyarth karma and vyarthasa. We have to look inward and improve our own instruments, particularly the instrument of mind, to acquire happiness and to do away with distress we feel in life. Then verse number 13. परंतु हे कुंती पुत्र, देवी प्रकृति के आश्रित महात्मा जन मुझको सब भूतों का सनातन कारण और नाश रहित अक्षर स्वरूप जानकर अनन्य मन से युक्त होकर मुझको निरंतर भजते हैं. नाउ देविक प्रवृत्ति, divine behavior, divine thinking, divine action. Now this is the one which can help us to transform ourselves. Now what is this divine pravarti, Devi Prakriti? Divine pravarti is the one which enables us to look inward, to discover our own divinity. There is a divine inside us, and if we can turn our attention to that divinity inside, then the whole thing will be reversed. The gate from where you are going out, the same gate you can come back inside. The same gate can be used both for going out and coming in. So here we have to use this gate for coming in, so that our tendencies and our thinking are directed towards the divine inside us. That is what the divine pravarti is. Divine pravarti basically directs you towards the divinity sitting inside you. And that divinity, once we realize, then everything else will be resolved. Then we will look into that avatar, into that incarnation of God who looks like an ordinary human being. Then we will find him almighty. Then we will immediately realize, like Bhishma realized, or Drona realized, or Vedvyas realized, that he is the incarnation of the Almighty. So that realization is possible only when we can look inward and we can discover the divinity inside us. Once we do that, then the whole transformation happens, and happens without any problem. Then we understand the Almighty quite easily. Then he says, मुझ भूतों का सनातन कारण, that is the what we call perpetual cause, the only fundamental perpetual cause of all this appearance manifest world is that can be realized. That is possible only when we have this divine nature, when we develop ourselves, our own divinity, and we realize that divinity inside us. Then we will go back to the verse number 4 and 5, where he says, मुझ निराकार परमात्मा से ये जगत परिपूर्ण है. So this all this manifest world, which is full of forms and names, is completely based on me, which is without any form and any name. Nirgun. It's exactly like a situation where we see in this when you walk in a town, you see all kinds of buildings, you see houses, you see shops, you see godowns, you see theaters, and you see variety of construction. Now, all that construction has one common feature. Without that, no construction is possible, and that is Akash. That Akash enables you and me to construct a house or a godown or a toilet or a shopping mall or a theater or a playground. Without Akash, nothing is possible. Similarly, the Almighty is like that foundation, like Akash, on which all this manifest world is appearing. If we start realizing that, then the whole thing will turn to divinity. It's like if you demolish all this town in village and towns on this earth, then the Akash will still be there. And without that Akash, then you can reconstruct again and again because the Akash is there. But if you take away the Akash, nothing will be there. Nothing is possible. No town is possible. No village is possible. No manifestation is possible without that Akash. Exactly the same way, without the power of the Almighty, this manifest world is not possible. That is possible only on the foundation of the non manifest Almighty, which he mentioned in verse number 4 and 5. So, this is what he is coming back here, that those people who can understand that this foundation of this manifest world is the non-manifest Almighty, then things will become very clear, and then he will realize the power and the beauty of that Paramatma and Almighty. Then what happens once you realize that? Then you do not think of anything else. Then you start thinking only about that power, and then you become dedicated to him. उसके ध्यान में युक्त हो जाता. Then you say there is nothing else to see in this world. Then you become dedicated to that power which enables all this manifest universe to happen. Without him, there is no universe possible. Without him, no manifest world is possible. So don't remain involved into the manifest part. Try to understand the seed. The seed of a tree contains all that. If you start trying to understand each leaf and each branch and each flower and each fruit, you will never understand a tree. To understand the tree, you have to understand the mystery of the seed. Exactly the same way here, to understand this world, which is manifest in variety of forms, variety of names, then if you start analyzing each one of them, you will never understand this world. But if you understand the seed lies in the Almighty. He is the one who is the seed, cause of the causes. That seed, once you understand, everything becomes clear. Then you become dedicated to Him. And that is what happens. Then you automatically, you don't have to do anything. You become in a situation, you go into a situation where you have infinite connection with the Almighty. And all the time, continuous with Him. That connection is possible only when you discover this mystery. That entire manifest world is possible only because of this non-manifest power. Like the entire tree is possible only because of that small little seed. If you crush that seed, you don't see any trace of the tree. You don't see any branches, you don't see any leaves, you don't see any fruit or flower or anything else. But once you show the tree, it happens. So obviously the tree contains exactly the same way the Paramatma. When you look at him, you do not feel that he is the all powerful. You don't get that feeling. But once you have the divine thinking, then you start realizing that power. And that power will enable you to understand the mystery of this world. So this is verse number 14. Now let's go to verse number 15. दूसरे ज्ञान योगी मुझ निर्गुण निराकार ब्रह्म का ज्ञान यज्ञ के द्वारा अभिन्न भाव से पूजन करते हुए मेरी उपासना करते हैं और दूसरे मनुष्य बहुत प्रकार से स्थित मुझ विराट स्वरूप परमेश्वर की पृथक भाव से उपासना करते हैं. Now here he has explained a fundamental truth of our existence, that either we realize that Almighty through knowledge, ज्ञान से, ज्ञान यज्ञेन चाप्यन्ते यजंतो मापुपास्ते. अगर आप ज्ञान यज्ञ से परमात्मा को ढूंढना चाहते हैं, समझना चाहते हैं, then what happens is, then ultimately you realize that he is the only thing which exists in this world. Nothing else exists. Everything else only appears and only manifests to, because of that fundamental power. So once you have that feeling, that knowledge will make you one with the Almighty. And that is unity, eki bhav, ekatva, abhinna, abhinna bhav. That is, in Sanskrit they have used the word ek twain. That is, you have only total unity with him. That is nothing else but him. But then there are people who do not believe in Gyan, who says Gyan mein maja nahi hai. The people who have knowledge, they are very, what you call, not very, what you call, I'm trying to find a proper word for it. They don't have that energy. They don't have that love. They don't depict the feeling of ras, the ras jisko kehte hain na Hindi mein. That feeling is not there. That feeling comes only when you become devotee. A devotee can create a feeling of ras. The devotee can give you a feeling of pleasure. That can provide you a different feeling of happiness. So the other people who believe in that kind of approach, who are looking for happiness directly from that connection, then you have Dvait. That is, there's a God there and I'm here. So he is saying that you can have Eki Bhav or you can have Dvait. You can have Advait, you can have Dvait. Advait is possible when you pass through the path of knowledge. Path of knowledge will lead you to Advait. Because when you keep going backward, the backward integration will ultimately lead you to one single entity. Like we say that the whole world is made of these 5 elements. So we come to one conclusion, that these 5 great elements give birth to all that we see in this world. Then you say that, wow, how those 5 elements? Then you go back. Then you go back to one, that is Akash gave birth to the remaining 4. Then you go backward again, how the Akash came into being. Then you go to that power from where all this originates. And you, in this process of going backward in your journey, you will find there's only one single entity which exists, and that is the path of knowledge. But those people who do not, find knowledge very interesting, they don't find it very pleasurable. They say, no, no, I want to derive pleasure out of my devotion to the Almighty. Then they find a path which is the path of bhakti, the path of devotion. Then there is a duality, the dvait, that there is a Almighty and I am His, whatever role you can be his das, you can be with his son, daughter, his colleague, whatever way, साथी भी कर सकते हैं आप उसको, अपने आप को उनका बच्चा भी समझ सकते हैं. कई लोग, some people say God is my son, they consider Almighty as your own child. So you can have whatever relationship in that bhakti marg. Like Meera found husband and wife. That's he's my, husband and I'm his wife. Similarly, many people find different, relationships. But in the Bhakti Marg, you have a different path. So what he's saying here, that those who go through the Gyan Marg, they find ekatva. That is, finally they say that there's only one existence, and that is the Almighty. Those who go through a different route, they do what we call upasana. Upasana means you have to have somebody else. So that somebody else is the Almighty, and you are doing upasana. Upasana means to sit next to, your lover or your guru, whatever. So you can give uh, that relationship a name. It could be Guru Sishya, it could be Pati Patni, it could be, two colleagues together, it could be son and daughter, son and father, whatever relationship. So that is the relationship of Upasana, that is the Bhakti Marg, where you have duality, you have two people, one the Almighty and the other one is one of us, the human being, and that relationship is also in existence. So he is saying that these two relationships are in existence in different ways in this world. Now, we will stop here today, but I want to revise a little bit of what we have done in this chapter, just to recapture in 2 minutes all that which we have covered so far in this chapter. Firstly, we started with Shraddha, that Lord Krishna realized that Arjun is now in a state where he has complete Shraddha in me, and therefore he said that I will reveal the deepest mysteries of existence. And that is why he called Guhyatam. All the deepest mysteries I will reveal. And then he went to the verse number 4 and 5, where he explained that how the entire manifest world is appearing on him. He is without any, qualities, but all the qualities come out of him. And the whole manifest world, the Vyakt Sansar, comes from Avyakt Almighty. And he is in that world because the world is located in him. He gave an example, जैसे आकाश में विचरता हुआ वायु हमेशा ही आकाश में विद्यमान है. That is that the air which was created by Akash is all the time in Akash. Similarly, all the manifest world which was created by me is all the time in me, but I am not in that. That he explains in deep. It looks a little contradictory, but that's how he explained that in Vayu the Akash is not there, but Akash is in Vayu. So he gave that example to explain. So the foundation of this entire existence is he. Everything appears on him. This is what he meant there. And then he said that कल्प के आदि में मैं सबको उत्पन्न करता हूं और कल्प के अंत में वो मेरे में विलय हो जाते हैं. We understood that Kalp is 4.32 billion years. That is the period of Kalp. We explained the various measurements, how it has been arrived at. And in the beginning, it is the day of Brahma, is also called day of Brahma. In the beginning of the Brahma's day, the whole manifest world comes out. At the end of the day, it is all dissolved back into Brahma, and then it remains dormant for one full night, that is 4.32 billion years. So this is the cycle of universe which runs. That is what he explained there. And then he also said that he gives birth according to their karmas. कर्मों के अनुसार मैं उनको उत्पन्न करता हूँ. So he is confirming that ultimately whatever birth we take in this world, it is based on our own karmas. God is not responsible for that. We bring our own destiny. We are the creator of our own destiny. अगर हम भाग्य को समझते हैं तो भाग्य is not given by somebody else, it is given by our own karmas. And that is very important, that we should do right karma, so that we come with a good birth in this world. But he says that I am not though I am creating this universe, though I am giving birth to you, but I am not impacted by that action. That karma is not impacting me, because I am completely niskam, and I am absolutely udasin. These two words he has used, udasin and niskam. And therefore, those karma which he does to create this world and to dissolve this world do not impact him at all. And that is why he is beyond what we call time and space, beyond the causality of action. That is what he explained that day. And then he explained today what we saw in that this kind of sansar chakra, this cycle of birth and rebirth continues constantly in this universe, and people pass through that cycle again and again. This is a sort of infinite cycle unless we get out of it. Once we go to the path of liberation or moksha, then we can get out of that cycle. Otherwise we remain into that cycle forever. That is what he mentioned earlier. And today we saw that even if I appear in the normal human shape, then people do not give him that kind of recognition, because we don't have that, power to think beyond. We don't have that Devik Pravarti. Most of us have Asuri Swabha. Most of us are constrained with our limited wisdom and limited thinking of mind. But once you have directed yourself toward the search of divinity inside you, then you can realize the truth, and then you can understand that the whole universe is actually controlled and directed by that one single entity. And then you start praying for that single entity. You become dedicated to that entity, either through the path of knowledge or through the path of devotion. So this is what is has been told in this chapter so far. I thought I'll just summarize it a little bit, so that we get an overall picture of how this universe is run, how this universe is created, and how we reap the harvest of our own karma ultimately, and how we can get out of this cycle of birth and death. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer those, and we will continue on this journey next week. Thank you.